If you wish to leave voluntarily, proceed toward Main Street.
That big group that was at
I don't know the numbers, but it's very little.
very few.
Very little. We had more arrests over here than we did on that side. So pretty much I was laying in my tent. All right. They told us we could stay there indefinitely. They told us we could live there, that it's okay, and all that. So they invited us into the property, which is our private property, but I'm not even going to go there. So the point is, and they finally said, all right, we're going to have to start moving. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to start looking for a place to put all my stuff, because I moved everything in here, which takes about a month, you know. And I'm like, they're not going to do anything. They were about to raid us Sunday. They didn't do it. Like, they're probably just like using scare tactics, whatever. Sure enough, they come by, and I was asleep in my tent, like I said. They come by, and I wake up in flex cuffs with like 6 of these stormtroopers, you know, surrounding me. Like, you know when they beat somebody and they all surround them so nobody can see? Yeah, that's what I woke up in. And I was like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on? As soon as I woke up, he just one of the cops fucking stomps me in the arm. I actually have a bruise still. But he stomps me, he's like, calm down, you're under arrest. I'm like, calm down, I'm under arrest. You know, this is almost a week later and it's still right there, you know, from his fucking boot. I'm like, calm down, like.
That's a perfect shape of a boot, would you say?
Oh yeah, totally. And then right there from the flex cuffs, like my hands are still numb.
I don't know. I want to find.
And it's almost a fucking week later.
From nerve damage, possibly.
And after that, I was on the bus. You know, my hands were tight. Like the flex cuffs are way too tight. And I'm sitting on the bus like I could barely sit because they hurt so bad.
How many people were on the bus with you?
It was like, what, 17? And we're all crammed in the back and like 3 in the middle.
What was the general mood?
Pissed.
Were there people actually forced to sit on the floor of the bus?
Not forced, but there was just no room that people just sat on the floor.
So were they overcrowding the bus?
Yeah, they crammed us all in the back and the middle was like empty. You know, there was nobody sitting in the middle. We were all crammed in there. And then we're all sitting in the garage for like all night,
so
you know, like.
You in like cattle?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You know?
How did they speak with you? How did they talk to you?
Shut up and get in line.
Yeah, just go like boot camp. I'm like, excuse me, you know. And then like I said, we're in the garage for like 8 hours. You know.
I was already in the civil disobedience circle because we'd heard that cops were staging. It was past midnight, so I was organizing a group of people locking arms around the symbolic tent. When they came out, I started blowing a whistle. I had a signal set up with other people. If they heard me blow the whistle 3 times, everyone knew to rush to that civil disobedience tent. And we had between 75 and 100 people who managed to get around that tent, and we all sat down to get arrested there. But what the cops did is they came out in a circular formation around us, and they completely surrounded the group around the tent. So we were prevented from bringing any more people in. So they completely cut us off from the rest of the occupation at that point.
Circumstances of your particular arrest, Bob?
I was put in cuffs and led over to a bus on the west side. My cuffs were extremely tight. I told them that my hands were in a lot of pain and were turning purple. They didn't loosen the cuffs. They took us into a garage pre-holding. I went from holding cell to holding cell. They wouldn't tell us any information. They wouldn't tell us when we were going to see a judge. I went a total of 19 hours without having any sort of mattress to lay down on before I actually got into a general holding cell with a mattress. It was 19 hours total. And at that point, I still had not been able to see a lawyer. I'd not been read my Miranda rights. I was just treated like trash. You know, we were.
So you finally found out what the homeless get treated like.
I did.
It
was my first time incarcerated. From a human rights standpoint, one thing was done very much right is that, you know, our names were posted in the LA Times and online. I didn't get to eat until noon that day, so we went a significant period of time without eating. At one point, our dinner was served frozen. We were serving frozen ham sandwiches. It looked like they'd just been out of the freezer. I was held for 60 hours, and I got to brush my teeth once. And again, the hygiene kit was just toothbrush, toothpaste, and a comb.
That I was kindly in my tent. I'm a borderline diabetic, but I still take insulin shots. I was actually coming. I broke the circle for a second to come in to take my shot, but I didn't know that the police was already going to be at my tent though. So I'll get in, I take my shot, but in the process of me giving myself my shot for my insulin, the police took it on themselves to cut open my tent and stick a, what do you call those rifles in, the beanbag guns. I got hit twice. Why I'm taking my shot though? But you know that.
So did they give you any warning before they did that?
No, they didn't give me no warning.
So they essentially what you're saying is they cut the tent and came right in and
Straight in, straight in. They didn't, it was the first couple, excuse my English. It was the first couple cuts from the ceiling. Then next thing they put the gun in and shot me twice.
Did they even bother to look in the tent? They could have been anybody in there. It
could have been
a mother breastfeeding her baby.
Exactly.
So they just cut and shot.
Came straight in. Elastic handcuffs?
Yes.
That's where my shit was so tight. My shit was purple. And I'm black. You know what I'm saying? The fuck? I was like, I said, excuse me, why am I get arrested? It's like, shut up. If you don't want to go in on just, what do you say, just by hitting the police officer, hold on. I was like, man, how did I hit one of your police officers? Then the whole gang over, like, come on, I'm witness. I seen it. Seen what? If I hit the police, don't you think that I will be, you know, I'm hurt. I still got my needles hanging out my belly.
You still had your shot hanging there.
Exactly.
Wow.
I'm still on the ground and I'm trying to lay on my side. They think I'm trying to resist. So I was like, no, that wouldn't be the case. I have you can see it plain as day. You know what I'm saying? I was and my tent was right here, like right there. Like you guys are standing maybe
right
like,
on the edge of the camp.
Right there on the edge.
Wow.
You guys are maybe like 15 feet away from where my tent was. You know what I'm saying? And the bad thing is, when they had me on the ground, I'm telling them, like, can you please just let me roll on my stomach, though? Can I just roll on my stomach? Because you don't know how it hurts on my side. Like, what's the matter with you? I was taking my insulin. And then the sad part is, they broke all my bottles, though. And I don't stay here in LA.
Did they break the bottles purposely?
If they came in without no regulations, no warning, don't you kind of think they done that on purpose, though? Bags.
How close range was the gun to your leg when they pulled the trigger?
Well, my tent is a 4-man tent, and you can come in from both ends of the angle. But where they came from, I was at this side of my tent, laying down, because you got to lay down on your stomach, because I don't kind of got the shockness of standing up. I keep my it's like a throbbing, like needles, whole bunch of needles in your hand. Okay. Like my doctor told me, you know, since I'm like a diabetic, I could be in the process of, you know, losing my hands or losing my feet. You know what I'm saying? I'm too young to, you know what I'm saying, just have nubbins, man.
What were you finally charged with?
Failure to disperse.
And that was it?
That was it.
So for failure to disperse, let me get this straight. You were shot twice with a beanbag when you were sitting down, shooting insulin into your body, and then your hands were zip tied so tight they had to be surgically removed. And in that process, you could not feel, have any feelings in your hands at all whatsoever. And not only that, you're still having residual problems, both with your wounds and with your hands.
Exactly.
Is that all fair to say that's accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
To the T. A failure to disperse, but they spelled it wrong.
Looks like it. It's disperse, not disperse. They can't. Obviously, they can't even spell their own charges, which is a large statement in my estimation.
Then I saw a bunch of cops, more than I'd ever seen before, convene on the square there.
Where did they come from?
Everywhere. There was a small barricade that was erected by a couple of the occupiers of trash cans and virtual things, and that was the first things to go. And it seemed like just from the destruction of that, the cops were angry. So already I was getting a little afraid, a little trepidatious. They found out I was up there, is they started shining their flashlights up at me, and not only just shining them up, but flashing them as well very, very quickly. And me as an epileptic, I started to freak out, because if that, I don't know how much people realize about epilepsy, but you know, you can induce a seizure if that happens. And I told the officers that, and they persisted. So I started freaking out. I started losing my breath. I started getting dizzy, and the last thing, and
acknowledge you telling them that you were an epileptic?
I heard nothing from them. I heard nothing from them. I kept yelling at them, I'm an epileptic, I might have a seizure, please do not flash your flashlights at me. And there was a couple of medics who had also come over up the tree to help me down, and they were also telling them that, and they persisted with flashing the lights. And so I freaked out. I'm not scared of heights whatsoever, but it absolutely turned upside down, and I became extremely fearful. I was going to fall and have a seizure and fall. Held really tight to the branches. The two medics were very kind and very slowly helped me down from there. And as I got to the pallet that was midway through the tree,